Captain Park was already awake. She had been sitting in her small cabin, looking at the stars through the window. Sleep had been difficult lately. Something felt wrong in the darkness of space, and she could not explain what it was. When the alarm sounded, she was on her feet immediately. She moved through the narrow hallways of the patrol vessel Horizon's Edge with quick steps. The ship was small but fast, built for watching the outer edges of human space. It was not built for fighting. It was not built for rescue. It was built for seeing things first and reporting back. The bridge was busy when she arrived. Her crew of 12 was already at their stations. Lieutenant, the communications officer, turned to look at her. His face was pale. "Captain, you need to see this," he said. Park walked to the main screen. The image showed a section of space near Neptune's orbit. At first, she saw nothing unusual, just the darkness and the distant lights of stars. Then adjusted the sensors, and she saw them. Ships, dozens of ships. They hung in space like dead fish floating in water. No lights, no movement, no engine glow, just dark shapes against the darker background of space. "How many?" Park asked. 47 vessels, Captain, all large, warships from the look of them. Park felt her heart beat faster. 47 warships was not a patrol, it was not an exploration fleet. It was an armada, an invasion force. "Whose ships are they?" His fingers moved across his console. The image zoomed in on the nearest vessel. The ship was beautiful in a cold way. Long and elegant, with sharp angles and a hull that looked like polished silver. On its side was a symbol that Park recognized immediately. The symbol of the Dominion. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew that symbol. Everyone knew what it meant. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They were tall beings with silver skin and 4 arms. They were warriors and conquerors. They had built an empire across 1,000 star systems, and they had always looked at humanity with something between disgust and amusement. 30 years ago, when humans first made contact with the galactic community, they had sent a message. The message was simple: stay in your small corner of space. Do not bother us. You are not worth our attention. Since then, they had refused all contact with Earth. They saw humans as weak, primitive, and unimportant. They were not enemies exactly. They simply did not care if humanity existed or not. And now, 47 of their warships were floating dead in human space. "Life signs?" Park asked. The science officer, a young woman named, checked her readings. Her eyes went wide. "Yes, Captain, thousands of them, but they are weak, very weak, and getting weaker." Park stared at the screen. The ships were not destroyed. There were no marks of battle, no holes in the hulls, no signs of attack. They were simply stopped, as if someone had turned them off. "Captain said, I am picking up a transmission, very weak. It is a distress signal." The bridge went even more quiet. A distress signal from the Dominion. The proud, who had never asked anyone for anything, were calling for help. "Play it," Park ordered. The speakers crackled. A voice came through, broken and faint. The words were in the language, but the ship's computer translated them automatically. "This is High Commander of the 3rd Armada. Our ships are disabled. Our people are dying. We request any assistance, please." The message repeated, again and again. A loop of desperation from beings who had never shown weakness to anyone. Park looked around at her crew. She saw fear on some faces, confusion on others. She understood their feelings. They had never been kind to humanity. They had made it clear that they considered humans to be lesser beings. Now they needed help, and by chance it was humans who had found them. "Contact Earth Command," she said. "Report what we have found. Tell them we need instructions." Nodded and began sending the message. But Park knew that Earth was far away. A response would take hours, and those life signs were getting weaker every minute. She made a decision. "Prepare a shuttle," she said. "Medical supplies, emergency power packs, anything we can spare." Her executive officer, a serious man named Han, stepped forward. "Captain, are you sure? We do not know what happened to those ships. It could be a trap. It could be a disease. They have never shown us any friendship." Park nodded slowly. "I know, but there are thousands of beings on those ships. They are dying. If we do nothing, we will watch them die." "They would not do the same for us," Han said quietly. "Maybe not," Park replied, "but we are not them. We are human, and humans do not leave people to die in the dark." She turned to face her crew. They were watching her, waiting for her words. She could see the doubt in their eyes. She could feel their fear. But she also saw something else. She saw the thing that made humans different from so many other species in the galaxy. She saw the willingness to help, even when it was hard, even when it was dangerous, even when there was no reward. "I am not ordering anyone to volunteer," she said. "This is dangerous. We do not know what we will find on those ships, but I am going. Who will come with me?" For a long moment no one moved, then stood up. "I will come, Captain." "Then me too." One by one they all stood, every member of her crew, every single one. Park felt a warmth in her chest. She smiled. "Then let us go save some lives." The shuttle launched 20 minutes later. It was a small vessel, barely large enough for 10 people and some supplies. As it flew toward the massive flagship, Park looked at it through the window. The ship was enormous, at least 5 kilometers long. It was beautiful and terrifying, and it was completely dark. She did not know what they would find inside. She did not know if they would accept their help or attack them. She did not know if they would survive this day. But she knew one thing with perfect certainty. She was doing the right thing. The shuttle approached the flagship. The doors waited in the darkness, and Captain Park, commander of the small patrol vessel Horizon's Edge, prepared to board an alien warship full of dying warriors who had never given humanity anything but contempt. She took a deep breath. "Open the doors," she said. "We are going in." The inside of the flagship was cold, so cold that medical officer could see her breath forming small clouds in front of her face. The emergency lights flickered weakly, casting strange shadows on the walls. The air smelled wrong, stale, dying. Led the boarding team through the dark corridors. Behind her walked 6 other crew members, all carrying medical supplies and emergency equipment. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. "Life signs are stronger this way," said, checking her scanner. "Many of them, hundreds maybe." They followed the readings deeper into the ship. The corridors were wide and tall, built for beings much larger than humans. The walls were covered with symbols and writing that none of them could read. Beautiful artwork decorated some sections, showing scenes of history, battles, conquests, victories. But now the mighty ship was a tomb. They found the first in what looked like a common area. The aliens lay on the floor on benches against walls. They were not moving. Their silver skin had turned a dull gray color. Their forearms hung limp at their sides. Rushed to the nearest one. It was a female based on the traditional markings on her face. She was still alive, but barely. Her breathing was slow and shallow. Her eyes were closed. "Start treatment," ordered. "Warm blankets, oxygen, anything to stabilize them." The team spread out, moving from alien to alien. There were at least 50 in this room alone, and all of them were in the same condition. Weak, cold, dying. As worked, she wondered what could have done this. The ship was not damaged. There were no wounds on the. It was as if something had simply drained the life out of them and their vessel at the same time. "Medical officer," a voice called from deeper in the ship. "We found something." Left the common area and followed the voice. It led her to what was clearly the command center of the ship. The room was large and impressive, with a massive chair at the center that looked like a throne. Screens covered the walls, all of them dark. On the floor beside the throne lay a male. He was larger than the others, with golden markings on his silver skin that indicated high rank. Even in his weakened state, he looked powerful, dangerous. His eyes opened as approached. They were bright yellow, like twin suns, and they were filled with confusion and anger. "Who are you?" the demanded. His voice was weak, but it still carried the sound of command. "What are you doing on my ship?" Knelt beside him. I am a medical officer from Earth. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." The stared at her, his four hands clenched into fists. "Humans," he said the word like it tasted bad in his mouth. "You should not be here. This is not your concern." "You are dying," said simply. "That is my concern." She opened her medical kit and began checking his vital signs. The tried to push her away, but he was too weak. His hands fell back to his sides. "I am High Commander," he said. "Commander of the Third Armada. I do not need help from primitives." Ignored his words. She had dealt with difficult patients before. Pride was often the hardest thing to treat. "Your body temperature is dangerously low," she told him. "Your heart rate is irregular. If we do not treat you soon, you will die. All of your people will die." Closed his eyes. When he opened them again, some of the anger had faded. It was replaced by something else, something that looked like shame. "We were betrayed," he said quietly. "Betrayed by whom?" "The collective, our allies, or so we thought." Listened as told the story. The Third Armada had been traveling through space on a routine mission. They had stopped at a station to refuel. Everything had seemed normal. The had welcomed them as friends. But the fuel they provided was poisoned. It was a bioweapon hidden in the fuel supply. When the Armada jumped to this region of space, the weapon activated. It attacked both the ships and themselves. The engines died, the life support failed, and they began to weaken. "They wanted us dead," said. "They have always feared us. They smiled and called us friends, but they were waiting for the right moment to strike, and we trusted them." "Why would they do this?" asked. "Power, fear, the usual reasons." His voice was bitter. "We were becoming too strong, too influential. They decided to remove us before we became a threat to them." More humans arrived as they talked. Engineer led a team into the engine room, worked to establish communications with the other ships. Captain Park moved through the vessel, organizing the rescue efforts. Came to the command center an hour later. His face was serious. "I found the problem," he said. "The bioweapon is in the fuel system. It has spread to every part of the ship. The engines, the life support, even the computers. Everything is infected." "Can you fix it?" Captain Park asked. Shook his head slowly. "Not easily. The weapon is complex, very advanced. But I think I understand how it works. If we can find the right medicine to neutralize it, we might be able to save the ships and the crew." Had been listening. He looked at the human engineer with something like surprise. "You can understand biotechnology." "I am good at puzzles," said with a small smile, "and I do not like seeing good ships go to waste." More human ships arrived over the next few hours. Word had spread through Earth Command. The decision was not easy. Some leaders argued that the humans should stay back. They were not friends. They had never helped humanity. Why should humanity help them? But Admiral Shin, commander of the United Earth Space Forces, made the final decision. "We will help them," she said, "because that is what humans do." By the end of the day, dozens of human vessels surrounded the disabled Armada. Medical teams boarded every ship. Engineers worked to restore power. Supplies flowed from Earth's outer stations. In the command center of the flagship, High Commander watched the humans work. A young officer named stood beside him, receiving treatment from. "I do not understand," said softly. "We have never been kind to them. We have ignored them, insulted them. Why would they help us?" Looked up from her work, she smiled gently. "Because you needed help," she said. "That is all the reason we need." Said nothing, but something changed in his yellow eyes. The anger was gone now. In its place was something new, something he had never felt before when looking at a human. It was respect. Outside, the stars continued to shine. The disabled Armada hung in the darkness, no longer alone. And for the first time in 30 years, and humans worked side by side. The rescue had truly begun. 3 days had passed since the rescue began. 3 days of endless work. 3 days of fighting against time. Pilot O had not slept more than a few hours in all that time. He flew his shuttle between the ships constantly, carrying supplies, moving patients, transporting equipment. His hands ached from gripping the controls. His eyes burned from staring at screens. But he did not stop. There were too many people who needed help. The situation was worse than anyone had expected. The bioweapon was spreading through the fleet like a disease. Every hour, more systems failed. Every hour, more grew weaker. The human medical teams worked without rest, but they were losing the battle. On the flagship, medical officer had not left the medical bay for 2 days. She moved between patients, checking vital signs, adjusting treatments, holding hands when there was nothing else she could do. The doctors worked beside her now. They had been suspicious at first, but desperation had broken down their pride. "The treatment is not working," said one of the doctors, a thin male named. His silver face was gray with exhaustion. "The bioweapon adapts too quickly. Everything we try, it finds a way around." Looked at the data on her screen. Was right. The weapon was designed to be impossible to cure. They had created something truly evil. "There has to be a way," she said. "There is always a way." In the engine room had finally cracked the code. He had spent 3 days studying the bioweapon, taking it apart piece by piece. He understood it now. He knew how it worked, and he knew how to stop it. "I can make a cure," he told Captain Park, "but I need something that we do not have." "What do you need?" "An element called crystalline hydrogen-7. It is very rare. It can neutralize the bioweapon completely, but it only exists in a few places in the solar system." Captain Park checked the database. Her face became serious. "The closest source is on Titan, Saturn's moon." Nodded. "I know it is far and dangerous, but without it everyone on these ships will die." The decision was made quickly. A volunteer team would fly to Titan, collect the element and return as fast as possible. O volunteered to pilot the mission. He was the best pilot they had, and he knew the risks. "Be careful," Captain Park told him, "and be fast. We are running out of time." O smiled tiredly. "I will be back before you miss me, Captain." While the rescue continued in space, arguments raged on Earth. Admiral Shin stood before the United Council, defending the operation. The council members sat in a half-circle, their faces showing various expressions of concern, anger, and doubt. "This is madness," said Counselor, an older man with a hard face. "We are using all of our resources to save aliens who have never shown us any kindness, aliens who have threatened us, aliens who called us primitives." "They are dying," Admiral Shin replied calmly. "Would you have us watch?" "I would have us protect our own people first," said. "Our outer defenses are weakened. If any threat came now, we would be vulnerable. All because we chose to help beings who would never help us." The debate continued for hours. Some council members supported the rescue, others opposed it. The decision hung in the balance. Finally, Admiral Shin spoke again. "I understand the concerns, I share them, but I ask you to think about what we are saying to the galaxy. Right now, every species with sensors in this region is watching us. They are seeing humans risk their lives to save. They are seeing us choose mercy over calculation, kindness over advantage." She paused and looked at each council member. "If we abandon them now, we prove that we are exactly what they always believed us to be: small, selfish, unworthy of respect. But if we save them, we prove something else entirely. We prove that humanity is different, that we are better than our fears, that we will do the right thing even when it is hard." The vote was close, but in the end the council decided to continue the rescue. Back on the flagship, relationships were changing. The young officer had become something like a friend, too. They worked together in the medical bay, treating patients, sharing meals, talking during rare quiet moments. "I never knew humans were like this," said one evening. They were sitting in a corner of the medical bay, eating simple food from human rations. "I was taught that you were primitive, weak, dangerous in the way that wild animals are dangerous." Laughed softly. "We are not so different, I think. We have our flaws, we make mistakes. We can be cruel sometimes, but we also know how to care for each other, for strangers, even for those who do not care for us." "That is what confuses me," said. "We have never been kind to your people. Why do you not hate us?" Thought about the question. It was a good question. There were many reasons to hate them. They had ignored humanity for decades. They had treated humans like insects. They had made it clear that human lives meant nothing to them. "Hate takes energy," she said finally. "I would rather use that energy to help people, even people who do not deserve it, maybe especially people who do not deserve it." Was silent for a long moment. Then she reached out with one of her 4 hands and touched shoulder gently. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." The moment was interrupted by an alarm. His voice came over the communication system. "All personnel to stations. We have incoming ships, multiple contacts. They are not ours." Captain Park rushed to the command center. High Commander was already there, supported by 2 of his officers. He was still weak, but he refused to stay in the medical bay. "Show me," Park ordered. The screen lit up. 30 ships appeared on the display. They were different from the vessels, darker, more angular, covered with weapons. Said, his voice was filled with cold anger. "They have come to finish what they started." Park felt her heart sink. The human ships were not built for war. The ships were still disabled. They were outnumbered and... "Can we run?" she asked. Shook his head. "The Armada cannot move, and even if your ships fled, they are faster. They would catch you." Park looked at the screen. 30 warships fully armed coming to kill everyone. She thought about her crew. She thought about the thousands of they had worked so hard to save. She thought about somewhere near Saturn, carrying the cure that might save them all. She made her decision. "Contact all human ships," she said. "Tell them to form a defensive line around the Armada. We will not run. We will not surrender. We will stand and fight." Looked at her with surprise. "You would die for us." Park met his yellow eyes without fear. "We did not save you just to watch you die now. If they want to destroy this fleet, they will have to go through us first." The human ships began to move, forming a wall of steel between the disabled Armada and the approaching enemy. The battle was about to begin. Captain Park stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the enemy ships grow larger on her screen. Her small patrol vessel was never meant for battle. None of the human ships were. They were explorers, watchers, rescuers, not warriors. But today, they would become warriors. "All ships report ready," Captain said. His voice was steady, but Park could see his hands shaking slightly over the controls. He was afraid. They all were. Fear was natural. What mattered was what you did with that fear. "Open a channel to the flagship," she ordered. The screen flickered. A face appeared. It was a commander, a creature with dark blue skin and eyes like black stones. His mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Humans," he said, "how unexpected. I am commander of the collective. You are interfering with our business. Leave now and we will not harm you." Park did not move. "Your business is murder. You poisoned the fleet. You came here to kill thousands of helpless beings. We will not let that happen." Laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You cannot stop us. Your ships are weak. Your weapons are toys. Step aside or die with the... It makes no difference to us." "Then it makes no difference to you," Park replied. "We are staying." She cut the communication. Her hand was steady as she turned to face her crew. "All ships, she said into the fleet channel. "Today we fight for something more important than victory. We fight because it is right. We fight because there are people who need us. Whatever happens, I am proud to serve with all of you." The first missiles launched. The battle exploded across space like a storm of light and fire. Human ships scattered, dodging attacks, returning fire with everything they had. The weapons were powerful, but the human pilots were skilled. They used their smaller size and greater speed to avoid the worst of the damage. On the flagship, High Commander watched the battle with growing emotion. His people were helpless. His ships were dead. And these humans, these beings he had dismissed as worthless, were dying to protect him. He turned to his officers. "Get me to the engine room, now." They helped him through the corridors. His legs barely worked. His arms felt like weights, but his mind was clear and his will was iron. In the engine room, was still working on the cure. He looked up in surprise when appeared. "You should be resting," the engineer said. "I should be fighting," replied. "Tell me what you need. My people can help." Hesitated only a moment. Then he nodded. "I need power. If we can restore power to just a few systems, we might be able to get some weapons online." "Show me." Together, Human and worked, called every crew member who could move. They came in small groups, weak and stumbling but determined. They followed instructions. They connected wires. They rerouted power. They did things that should have taken days in just hours. Outside, the battle raged. O had returned from Titan just as the fighting started. His shuttle was loaded with the cure they needed, but he could not deliver it while ships filled the space around the Armada. "I need a path," he called over the radio. "Someone clear me a route to the flagship." A squadron of human fighters answered his call. They formed up around his shuttle, their small ships facing the massive cruisers without hesitation. "Stay behind us," the squadron leader said. "We will get you through." They charged into the formation. Missiles flew. Lasers cut through the darkness. One by one, the human fighters fell, their pilots sacrificing themselves to protect the shuttle and its precious cargo. O flew through fire and death. His hands were steady on the controls. His heart was breaking as he watched his fellow pilots die for him. But he did not stop. He could not stop. Too many lives depended on him. He reached the flagship and docked hard, barely slowing down. As soon as the doors opened, he was running, carrying the container of crystalline hydrogen, 7 like it was made of gold. On the bridge of the horizon's edge, the situation was desperate. The ship had taken multiple hits. Fires burned in several sections. Half the systems were offline. Captain Park had a wound on her head that would not stop bleeding. She refused to leave the bridge. "Shields are failing," Han reported. "We cannot take much more." Park looked at the tactical display. The flagship was leading the attack. If they could take it out, the rest of the fleet might retreat, but getting close enough to hurt it would be suicide. She made her decision. "Set course for the flagship, maximum speed." Han's eyes went wide. "Captain, we cannot survive a direct attack. Our weapons are too weak." "We are not going to shoot them." Park's voice was calm. "We are going to ram them." The crew stared at her. She stared back. "I gave the order, set the course." The horizon's edge turned toward the enemy flagship. Engines screamed as they pushed to maximum power. The small patrol vessel accelerated directly at the massive warship. Saw them coming, he laughed. "They are desperate, destroy that ship." Every weapon turned toward the horizon's edge. Fire poured across space. The human ship shook and burned, but it did not stop. It did not turn. At the last moment, Captain Park ordered her crew to the escape pods. Most of them made it. She stayed at the controls, guiding the ship on its final journey. The horizon's edge struck the flagship at full speed. The explosion was enormous. It tore through both ships, destroying the command center, killing Commander instantly. The fleet, suddenly without leadership, fell into confusion. And then something unexpected happened. On the flagship, power returned. Lights flickered on throughout the ship. Screens came alive. Weapons systems hummed with energy. Was on the bridge when the power came back. He looked at the display and saw 3 of his warships coming online. Not many, but enough. "All ships that can fire," he commanded, his voice strong for the first time in days. "Target the, show them what happens when you betray the Dominion." The 3 warships opened fire. Their weapons were far more powerful than anything the humans had. Ships exploded one after another. At the same time, intercepted a transmission. "Reinforcements," he reported. "They called for reinforcements. More ships are coming." But it did not matter. They had lost their advantage. Their commander was dead. Their fleet was in chaos, and reinforcements were still hours away. The remaining ships turned and ran. The battle was over. In the silence that followed, human and ships floated together in the darkness. Rescue vessels searched for escape pods. Medical teams treated the wounded. Engineers put out fires and sealed damaged hulls. Captain Park was found alive in the wreckage of the Horizon's Edge. Her escape pod had launched just seconds before the impact. She was injured badly, but she was alive. And then, as if the universe had one more surprise to offer, space itself seemed to tear open. Dozens of massive ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They were, but not from the Third Armada. The home fleet had arrived. High Commander watched them appear on his screen. He smiled for the first time since the nightmare began. "Better late than never," he said softly. The reinforcements spread out around the disabled Armada, forming a protective wall that no enemy could break. The Third Armada was safe at last. But's eyes were not on his own ships. They were on the wreckage of the Horizon's Edge, floating in space like a fallen hero. Humans had done this. Humans had saved them. He would never forget it. The home fleet filled the space around the disabled Armada like a protective shield. 100 warships, each one massive and powerful, each one armed with weapons that could destroy planets. Grand Admiral commanded this fleet, and he had expected to find a battlefield. Instead, he found humans. His shuttle landed on the flagship, and he walked through corridors that smelled of medicine and human food. He saw his people being treated by human doctors. He saw human engineers working on systems. He saw something he had never expected to see in his long life. He saw cooperation. High Commander met him in the command center. The two stood face to face, was tall even for their species, with battle scars across his silver skin. His yellow eyes took in everything, missing nothing. "Explain," he said simply. Told him everything, the betrayal by the bioweapon, the distress signal that no one was supposed to answer, and then the humans, the small patrol vessel that found them, the captain who chose to help without asking permission, the doctors and engineers who worked without rest, the pilots who died to protect an alien fleet. When finished, was silent for a long moment. "Where is this captain?" he asked. "She is in the medical bay. Her ship was destroyed in the battle. She nearly died saving us." Turned and walked toward the medical bay. Followed him. The corridors were busy with activity, but everyone moved aside when they saw the Grand Admiral coming. They found Captain Park in a bed near the center of the bay. Her head was wrapped in bandages. Her left arm was in a cast. Bruises covered her face, but her eyes were open and they were clear. Stood beside her, checking her vital signs. She looked up nervously when entered. A Grand Admiral of the Dominion was one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. His presence made the room feel smaller. Stood at the foot of the bed. He looked down at the small human who had all logic, all reason, all common sense to save his people. "Captain Park of Earth," he said. His voice was deep and formal. "I am Grand Admiral of the Dominion. I have heard what you did. I have heard how you risked everything to save strangers who gave you no reason for kindness. I have heard how you and your people fought and died for beings who have treated your species with nothing but contempt." Park met his gaze without fear. She had faced death too recently to be frightened of anything. "I have one question," continued. "Why?" Park thought about the question. She thought about all the reasons she could give. Political reasons, strategic reasons, the hope of future alliance, the desire for recognition. All of them would be understood by all of them would make sense in terms of power and advantage. But none of them would be true. "Because that is who we are," she said. "We saw people in danger, we helped. There is nothing more to explain." Stared at her. His yellow eyes were impossible to read. The silence stretched. Then slowly, the Grand Admiral of the Dominion lowered himself to one knee. The movement was ancient, formal. It was the highest sign of respect that it could show. "The Dominion thanks you, Captain Park. Your people have shown us something we did not believe existed. We were wrong about humanity. I was wrong." He stood again and turned to. "We'll answer for this treachery, but first we have debts to pay." Over the next few days, the situation changed rapidly. The cure that O had brought from Titan was distributed throughout the fleet. The bioweapon was neutralized. They began to recover. Their ships were repaired with a combination of human engineering and technology. The collective found itself facing consequences it had not expected. When word spread of their betrayal, other galactic powers turned against them. Trade agreements were canceled. Alliances were broken. They had tried to destroy the in secret, but they had done it in front of witnesses. Human witnesses. And humans, it turned out, were very good at telling stories. On Earth, the news of the rescue spread quickly. Opinions were divided at first. Some people thought the rescue was foolish. Others thought it was beautiful, but everyone agreed that something important had happened. Humanity had made a statement to the galaxy, a statement about values, about character, about what it meant to be human. The Council sent a formal message to the United Earth Council. For the first time in history, they requested a diplomatic summit. For the first time, they spoke of humanity with respect. On the flagship and said goodbye. "I will miss our conversation," said. Her 4 hands held a small box. Inside was a piece of crystal carved with symbols of friendship. "This is for you, a gift, something to remember me by." Took the box gently. "I will never forget you or any of this. Perhaps we will meet again, under better circumstances." "I would like that." They embraced awkwardly, human and different in so many ways, but connected now by something stronger than biology or history. High Commander visited the memorial that had been set up for the human crew members who died in the battle. Their names were written on a simple plaque. 17 names. 17 humans who gave their lives for people they had never met. Stood before the memorial for a long time. Then he removed a medal from his uniform. It was the Star of Honor, the highest decoration his people could give. He placed it on the memorial beside the human names. "We do not forget," he said quietly. "We will never forget." Captain Park was released from the medical bay a week after the battle. She walked slowly through the flagship, supported by Han. Her body was still healing, but her spirit was strong. She stopped at a window that looked out into space. The fleet was preparing to leave. The human ships, what remained of them, were gathered nearby. 2 fleets that had been strangers. 2 species that had been separated by pride and prejudice. "Not anymore." Grand Admiral approached her. He was no longer in his formal uniform. He looked almost approachable now. "The Council has made a decision," he said. "We would like to propose a formal alliance with Earth. Trade, technology sharing, mutual defense, everything." Park smiled. "That is good news. It is because of you, because of all of you, you showed us something we needed to see." He paused. "We are proud, sometimes too proud. We thought we were better than everyone else. We thought we did not need anyone. We were wrong." "We all make mistakes," Park said. What matters is what we do after. Nodded slowly. You are wise, Captain, wiser than many of my own advisors. He extended one of his 4 hands in the human style. Thank you for everything. Park took his hand and shook it. Thank you for giving us a chance to show who we really are. The fleet departed the next day. As they jumped to faster than light, they sent a final transmission. It was broadcast across the galaxy, on all frequencies for everyone to hear. To all species of the galactic community, we, the Dominion, wish to announce our new alliance with the human race of Earth. We call upon all civilizations to recognize humanity as a full and equal member of the galactic community. They have earned this recognition through their actions, their sacrifice, and their extraordinary kindness. The galaxy is better with humanity in it. On Earth, people gathered in streets and homes and ships to hear the message. Many of them cried. Some of them cheered. All of them understood that everything had changed. Captain Park stood on the bridge of a new ship. The vessel was called the Second Horizon, built to replace the one she had sacrificed. She looked out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. A message came through. It was from Admiral Shin. Good work, Captain. Now come home. You have earned some rest. Park smiled. Home sounded good, but she knew in her heart that she would be back out here soon. There were more strangers to meet, more hands to extend, more kindness to share. That was what humans did. She gave the order to head home. The ship jumped to faster than light, leaving the empty space behind. But something remained in that darkness, something invisible but real, a bridge between worlds, a connection that would never be broken. And in the vast darkness of space, 2 civilizations took their first steps toward becoming something greater than either had been alone.